Okay, so my name is Joe Madden, and I'm with Greenlight Group, and we're going to talk today about HP's vPV Virtual Performance Viewer. We're going to kind of walk through an overview of it, and then we're going to do a demo of it. I think the idea of this is going to kind of be an overview of the product. As I prep for this, they've just released a newer version of it, and there's some topics and things that, as I kind of dove into the version that they literally just released during Discover about 2 weeks ago, it became quickly obvious that we're going to need to do a kind of a more advanced version of this. But I think this version of it should be good enough to get people that are not familiar with the product a good sense of what the product can do and its capabilities, and a good feel for even the advanced functionality that we can get started on. So let's just dive into it. We'll have a Q&A towards the end of it, and I think we'll just handle it from that perspective. So let's move forward. So the agenda is we'll kind of do a solution overview of it, give you kind of the highlights of what I saw about the product that I liked, and then we'll kind of go through a demonstration of it, talk about installation, config. I think the key thing, in an era of 2015 around the idea of ops management and monitoring is you really want tools that can not just do monitoring, but really do help you with management. And it's not enough to tell me that the right light has gone from green to red, but really effectively help me manage whatever the problem is. So we're going to help drive and cover what vPV does and how it helps us with that. And then we'll finish up with QA. So a quick intro of who Greenlight is, what we are, what we represent. We were started in 2004. We're a group of folks that are fundamentally ex-ops engineers in one form or fashion. We're headquartered in Salt Lake. We're a Software Gold partner, and we're also an EG Gold Cloud partner. So what that means is we do software on the EG side, not hardware. So fundamentally the CSE product and some of the other software-oriented products there, like OneView and things like that. We consider ourselves kind of a boutique engineering services firm. We're focused on operations monitoring and management, IT service management, cloud and automation management, as well as business analytics pieces. We have international service delivery experience, but our focus is fundamentally on the Western U.S. We have engineers from Toronto up to Vancouver and Boise through the Midwest. So that's a flavor of who we are. So let's talk about vPV. Honestly, the product's been out about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. The most recent version is 2.2. I was aware of its presence for quite a while, but candidly hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to it. And then a couple of months ago, I was down at the Houston Enterprise Business Demo Center down in Houston with some hardware guys, and we were talking about VM environment management, the issue of overcapacity planning, and folks were talking about some VMware solutions, and it reminded me that the HP software folks had a solution around that as well. And it dawned on me that, I had to go take a look at it. And as I started to look at that, I rolled it out, and it was amazing to me how easy it was and how quickly I was able to realize value. As an engineering services firm with about 20 employees and our own VMware environment and real hardware that I have to buy and manage, it was amazing to me how quickly we were actually able to easily manage our own environment. So I think the things that we saw here was how easy it was to install, how easy it was to truly get quick time to value. HP really markets that multi-vendor virtualization piece, but I really think that's the start. The part that really caught our eye was the server management functionality. They took the old Glance Plus technology and refactored that into giving customers the ability to get server management and monitoring that is very simple and very feature-rich as a good starting point. The advanced analytics with leveraging Vertica is a key piece to this. It's very affordable relative to what it takes to get it going and what the value it is provides. And I think one of the things you'll see that is new in this new version is the ability to leverage past investments that folks have made. We'll show you the ability to tie in one view for the hardware customers, and we'll show you a quick look into leveraging it into OpsBridge and OMI 10, and we'll talk briefly about what it can do with CSA. And then one of the things that I like most about this is this really represents the best of the new HP. This is one of those products like Service Anywhere and some of the SaaS products like AppPulse that really shows you the new engineering with some of the new solutions that HP's been releasing here in, I'd say, the last 18 months. So the first piece is setup. It's very basic. It's pretty straightforward. It's a VM appliance. On the back end, it's running Vertica. So it's very simple, very powerful, and very fast. To configure it, you're basically taking the hypervisor management tools that manage those environments. So vCenter, it's straightforward. We'll show you that in a couple minutes here. Host name, username, password, and off you go. Data collection starts automatically. If you want to do deeper level monitoring, it's a very simple agent to install. And then out of the box, there's no authentication, and it just works, and you'll see that shortly here. That's the basic setup. If you want to get a little more advanced, you can configure LDAP authentication. You can configure HTTPS agent communication between vPV and the managed nodes. And then there's things like configuring groups for grouping the VMs into, say, things like business units or locations or applications. And then there's the obvious integrations with other tools that we'll cover here briefly. So it's pretty straightforward. It's one of the easiest tools that HP has to get up and get running. And again, we'll show you that here in a second. So what I'm going to do here is kind of walk you through. So this is going to be more show and tell, but just give you a sense of how easy it is to install. As I said, it's an OVA, so it's pretty straightforward to kind of get it up and running. You just basically deploy the template, and it's an HP built OVA file. So you just kind of go through, you agree to the license, you put it, in the data center that you want it. They give you some config options. You put it on the, the host that you want it on, your storage array that you're going to put it on, depending on how you want to provision it, what network, whether you want, if you can fix the IP or go DHCP. And we typically don't power on after deployment because we like to snap what we're doing. And that's it. You're pretty much done. 20 minutes later, it's ready to roll. So let's go live. Before I get, before I go, I guess I want to stop and just ask if there's any questions as I switch over here. Any questions, anybody? Is everybody hearing okay? Jana, you guys hearing fine?
Yes. Yeah, we're hearing good.
Yep. Doing good.
All right. All right, so this is kind of the home page of vPV. Again, it's, the idea here is really quick time to information. It's, what's going on in my environment. Everything's very context sensitive, very easy to configure. These I can go and I can say, do I want to, what do I want to see? What do I care about? And I can say, okay, take this off. Add it all in there. I want to see it all, and I can see what I want to see. So again, from an end user perspective, easy to customize, easy to build. I can very easily see, okay, what's going on my host level? Do I have a lot of issues going on? If I do, I can drill through, see what's going on. You're gonna come to learn to know that I've got a lot going on with my Blade 4. And CPU is one of many problems with Blade 4 as we go through this story here. But, I can quickly see what's going on in my environment and what are the challenges going on here. And then I can drill into it and I can see very quickly, what are my outliers? What does my world really look like, both at a VM level and at a virtual host level? And so this is our actual real environment. So this is real data. As an engineering services firm, you can see we're running about 200 VMs. I think the thing that you'll notice in this world is we have a lot of VMs because we have a lot of engineers, and most of the VMs that we have are non-production lab boxes that we're using for development or customer engagements. We do support as well, first call support, so a lot of times we have environments that we're using for our customers and support issues. So our environment is probably somewhat non-typical from a corporate environment where we have a lot of VMs with a lot not going on. But nevertheless, you know, we're running a C7000 with some blades in it. We've got a bunch of DLs that you'll see here in a second. We're running a 3-PAR storage environment. So we have a somewhat, you know, corporate type environment. And so we can quickly see what's going on. And as we've started running this, I've fixed a bunch of problems. And as I walk you through this, you can see some of the issues we've been able to resolve and some of the things I'm still working through. So, you know, I can drill through here, you know, what are the type of alerts I've got going. Here I can quickly see what are days to capacity. You know, so again, server 4, I'm pegged on server 4. I've got memory issues. The other alert was CPU issues. I've got an issue with one of my 3-PAR storage volumes that I've got to deal with. I can see latency issues. And again, one of the cool things about this is real time. So if we sit here and stare at it long enough, I can see, you know, what are my top 5 VMs by latency, data stores. You know, there's very quick, easy levels of information here. So this is a pretty good overview. This helps me drive on tactical things I need to deal with. And as I start to manage this, you can see, and we've been running this. So this instance, because this is the newest one, is about 2 weeks old. I had the other version, and I think you might have noticed the capacity thing just changed, about 6 weeks. And so when I first started this, I had a ton of things way out here that were overutilized. And we've been managing it. And part of what drove me is I was staring at a pretty big storage bill that I had to go out and buy some more storage, and we've actually cleaned that up to the point that that's pushed that purchase off. So let's keep going here. I think one of the cool things here is the ability to be able to see, you know, how much I've got deployed versus what my capacity is. So I have a very quick and easy knowledge of where I'm at and what's available to me. So another view of this is more of a heat map perspective of this. Any of you guys running SiteScope in more recent versions, this should look familiar. Again, HP's done a really good job of giving me the ability as either an admin all the way through a manager to give me the ability to quickly see, you know, what's my world look like and what does it look like at different views. So I can come here at a data center view or a host view and see, you know, what is going on, you know, on all my ESX hosts, and what does it look like at a micro level, at the CPU level, or the memory level. I can start here at the data center level and say, okay, well, this is my VMware data center level. I can drill down into my servers that make up that data center. I can say, okay, well, you know, this is what's going on with this blade. Again, you'll come to know Blade 4, okay, you can see what's going on. Here are all the VMs that are actually on Blade 4, and I can see, okay, what's going on here. And again, it gives me different views and different abilities to look at these things. So I can go all the way down to the actual VM, and I can even look and see, you know, I can drill down all the way to the actual VM. Now, the interesting thing about this is and it's leveraging the technology that you get through the hypervisor management tools. So here with VMware, I get vCenter. These are basically statistics and reporting that is collected from the vCenter tool. Graphs and charts that show me basic functionality of the VM from there. So this is what I would call agentless reporting. And I can pull feature-rich reports that show me how it's working, basically gives me forecasts. And so this is where the management place comes into play. And this is where the real dollars and cents value comes in play. So it's telling me that I've configured this with 8 CPUs.
And IT's need to manage and secure the organization. CYOD enables you to offer your employees a choice of company-approved devices with the appropriate security and standardization. It can
sorry,
help
I'm
you
hearing
easily
something in the
manage
background.
the deployment of multiple device options
with
the right configurations. CYOD is your new alternative to bring your own device, or BYOD.
Somebody must have put us on mute, maybe?
Yeah, could somebody put on mute?
Best-in-class office productivity solutions enable communication and collaboration across multiple devices and work styles to help improve management. Save.
There it goes. Okay, thank you. So anyways, the idea here is a pretty deep set of reporting, and it gives you basically the projections on where you ought to go with your planning. So basically, this is an over-provisioned server. It's the one view server, and basically says, out of the box, it was configured with 8 CPUs. And historically, based on how we use it on real data, says we really only need to leverage 3 CPUs. And same thing on the memory side. And so this is really where the business value of this comes into play. And I'll get into more detail here in a second, where across the whole enterprise, and when you start looking at multiple hundreds of VMs and you start to look at the scale of the over-provisioning that folks do, it turns into real dollars and real capacity that this will help you manage. Again, there's a series of these things that are, again, this is all out of the box type reporting for you. So you can see planning, and it'll give you capacity planning on when you think you're going to run and hit your maximum on this as far as dates, memory, storage. So again, out of the box, tons of detail. You can search on things like actual servers that you're looking for. So this is actually a part of the N&M portfolio. Again, same types of things, but if you add the actual server or the agent that they give you, this is actually real-time monitoring. And so this is basically the Glance Plus agent that you can put on, and this is basically out-of-the-box monitoring. So this is what I would call a good basic set of server monitoring that comes with this. This is, to me, the piece that, besides the virtualization management of it, is really huge. So if you're struggling with trying to just get monitoring off the ground, this is really kind of the bacon to the cheeseburger of this whole solution. So you can see here this kind of cool little process cloud. It's kind of a visualization of what are the key processes running on this server. But I can drill into this and I can see, okay, what are the top processes? What does my CPU look like? I'm running 4 cores. How is that? What do my disks look like? How are my file systems? Are they full? Are they, what kind of shape are they in? How's network utilization? What are the applications that are actually running on this? And then, system information. So again, this is an added level of functionality for you guys to be able to look and see what's really going on a specific server. So this is, again, it's branded and somewhat sold as a virtualization management platform, but this is actually also a very strong server management platform as well, as is kind of a good starting point. I came up the trenches as an Oracle DBA, and I used Glance Plus. This is almost 20 years ago, managing Oracle financials. And so the customizability of Glance Plus, there's a lot that you can do with that, and that's still all open to you. So folks that are working with some of the open source tools, this actually has some features, and actually it's quite a bit easier than some of the other things out there as far as customizing and data collection and data retention that would be comparable to some of those things. So this is one of those things for customers that are HP hardware customers that are using OneView. This is actually new in this version. So what this does is integrate OneView into this solution so that you can take your hardware infrastructure that's tied into OneView and very quickly and easily see how your capacity for your hardware is. So this is our environment, and you can see I have 4 blades currently in my environment. You can see my first blade, I have over 90 days worth of capacity, and you can quickly see where I'm at. This is part of my disk, problem that we've since resolved. And then you can see here that I have, about 83 days worth of capacity, and here it's disk, and here it's disk, and then you're going to see this is my friend Blade 4, where I have basically no capacity left, and the issue for me is on memory. So again, it's very easy for me to come in and see what my world likes. I can see what my problem is, and if I'm an admin, one click, I'm in one view now, and I can very quickly start to go to work and do things if I need to do them. And I can go straight from here into my ILO card, and if I'm trying to debug things and look into issues, it's very easy for me as an admin now to go through and get to where I need to be to do my job. So again, it's not just about monitoring and looking for red lights and green lights. It's about being able to easily, quickly get to where I need to get to be able to resolve the problems I need to get to. So I think this is really powerful. There's pieces to this that, we'll see around forecasting that, and because I don't have all the hardware that a larger enterprise will have, there's things that I could do that would allow me to be able to replace memory or add memory or do things that this would facilitate with things like OO that make it even more robust and more enterprise strength to tie out here. But you can, there's a lot of power here. Part of why this is red is because these are individual DL type servers, and I haven't turned on the full-blown monitoring here. But so, again, same functionality. And these are also part of why it's showing us up is because these are in one view. I'm going to stop and just see if there's any questions or comments here. So before I move on, I want to quickly talk about just the setup of this, because really part of what makes this so easy and makes this such a valuable solution is how easy it is to set up. You saw the install. Basically, the next step past the install is just the configuration. So to add a VMware environment, all you do is literally put the host name of the vCenter server, the username, password, test the connection and make sure it's clean, add it, and that's it. And basically, it starts the data collection, and all of that you saw on that tree map view is there. And so in this edition, you have, and that's what I did for the OneView server environment that you saw. With the Hyper-V server, the Microsoft environment, there's a piece of code that you have to add to the SCVMM server to get that to work. But it works basically just the same. KVM, Zen, I believe I think Zen's new in this version. It might be KVM. One of the two are new. Also, what's new in this release is the physical server. So the reason that box was red in the view that I just showed you is I haven't actually gone through this process with the physical servers. So now I can actually add physical servers to this, so it's not just a virtualization play anymore. And another piece that's new that I haven't configured, which is part of the allusion to the advanced version of the seminar, is AWS. So AWS hasn't released their full set of metrics yet, but there's some things that we can collect that will give us that same capacity planning ability, and even in the cloud, to be able to make sure that we manage and optimize our use of AWS that we're doing inside our own private clouds. And obviously OpenStack's part of that as well. OpenStack's play is a lot like the OneView play, where it helps you make sure that you're managing that environment well. But it's just that simple. And basically what you saw in those other views is what you get when you add those other sources. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about performance. So performance is pretty straightforward. It's context sensitive. So what I mean by that, it's very similar to the things you see in BSM, HP's operations piece. So the idea is, depending, these are metrics that, and again, this is all out of the box. These are things that you can see and quickly get. I mean, I'm just grabbing things and dragging them. You can see the number of server blades I have, number of available device bays. I mean, this is kind of brain dead stuff, but I think I can drag that in there. metrics that are very easy for me to draw, basically draw on there and look at things that I care about, and then I can save them and basically build custom reports for me. So this is context sensitive, right? I mean, number of enclosures, number of available is, something that's relevant to one view. Hyper-V has a set of metrics that are relevant to Hyper-V at the VM host level. I go down to a VM, there's a different set of metrics there. vSphere has its own set of metrics. I go down to a data center level, I get something different. I go down to a blade, I get a different set of metrics. The whole idea is it's very easy for me to draw and be able to get things that I want, and I can mix and match, right? So I'm not tied to one particular thing. So it allows me as either an engineer or a manager to be able to draw the things that are relevant to my business. And, again, save them. I can basically publish them as a report, as PDF. There's different ways I can kind of play along with that. The other piece tied around performance is alerts. So just like any other monitoring tool, we generate alerts. This system, because it's around performance and virtualization, is fundamentally concerned with things like allocations of memory, CPU, but it also will take the alerts that come from your hypervisor management platform. So it cares about things like space on data stores or CPU. And again, you can see the rich data that it's actually going to provide you. It's not a simple dumb message. It's basically giving you the reason, the definition, and actually solutions and additional details. And you can pull additional reports that will walk you through and show you, what are the idle machines that are tied to that maybe you want to get rid of to free up some of that additional disk. So again, the idea here is it's not just monitoring, but it's monitoring and managing. It's tell me about a problem, but tell me about the solution. How many of you folks have managers that don't just tell me about the problem, tell me how to fix the problem? That's what this is doing here for you. So there's some alerts. Again, you have the ability to filter on it. You can say, okay, tell me the last hour. This is one of the things I'm dealing with now. We can talk about allocation. Again, you're going to see a report you've seen before. Basically, the idea is I'm over provisioned on CPUs and I'm over provisioned on memory. I've configured it with 4 gigs. I really only need 1 gig. I think this is one of my dev service manager servers. So that's alerts. Here's the area that candidly is really where the business value is maximized. And we'll spend most of our time here. But this is really where, and again, there's the admin layer to this and there's the management layer to this. I can quickly see, what type of technology I've deployed, how many VMs I have out there, how many are turned on, how much capacity do I currently have left. So I know that I'm not at risk of running out of the ability to host VMs, so I don't have to go out and buy a bunch of hardware tomorrow. I can see how much CPU I have allocated, which is a lot. What's my capacity? What am I really using? Memory and storage. So I quickly can see where I'm really at. Then I go down to the next level and I can see, how much am I over allocated? How much am I right sized and how much am I undersized? Again, same thing for memory. And this is new, and this is really actually pretty powerful and helped me clean up a lot of things quickly. Activity, so what are idle, which is really, really low usage VMs, and what's powered off. And I've demoed this now a couple times for some customers and prospective customers in the last week, and this powered off VM was really powerful because, when we went through this and how we cleared our storage problem was we had a bunch of VMs that had been powered off and turned off since like late 13, early 14. And I was able to make the argument to my team that it's like, okay, if this thing's been off since, mid 14, I would argue you don't need it anymore. And so that freed up a bunch of disk for us that actually pushed off my storage buy needs for a while. So let's just kind of walk through this really quickly. So on the, I'm going to pick up on the CPU piece of it because it kind of works the same way on the storage side or on the memory side. So let's view CPU by sizing. So really what I've done is I've gone through the oversized servers and I just sort by this. And we've cleaned a lot up, so it's not quite as egregious as it once was. But I'm looking at my current CPU setting and I'm looking at the recommended one. And we're just slowly going through, and probably the hardest piece of work is just going through and slowly resizing these and being careful about it. And there's been a few, like the one view, we've resized this a few times, and we resized it back up to 8 just to go back to the default, because I think we went down to, I think at one point it said 2, and that wasn't quite small enough. So there's been some challenges with some of that, but we have, I don't know, we've probably resized like 15 boxes and bought back an allocation of probably 40 or 50 CPU easily. And the memory side, we've bought allocation of a couple hundred gigs of memory. But the idea here is from a management and action perspective is you just kind of go through here and you just start picking stuff off. The other thing that this has done for us is we've actually gone through now, and in our build process, we use HP tools to do deployments on our builds. We've kind of stopped using small, medium, large, and it's 1 gig, 2 gig builds, and we're defaulting with that and kind of forcing the issue to start with that so that we're not starting with an overcapacity builds approach. And then when you look at the undersized, there's not that many that are that problem. And so when you realize you've gone through this process and you've shrunk that all down, when you've got one that's recommended at 2 and is currently sitting at 1, it's not that big of a deal to reallocate back to it. So let's go back here and look at this view again. So to me, this was the one that was a really big deal for us. And one of the things that the guys at R&D tell us that's a differentiator between this and, say, vCops and some of the VMware tools is that was this powered off value. And you can see that we don't have anything that hasn't been turned off past March 20th of 15. When we first deployed this, there was a bunch of stuff that was much older, and we were able to, I was able to talk to the team and say, okay, guys, there's a bunch of stuff we were able to just flat out delete. But I think as customers look in their environments and start to deploy this, they'll see that there's a bunch of things that are dramatically older, and very quickly able to say, okay, is this really relevant? And, some of our folks have things that are in the idle position that, depending on how they get rid of old VMs, there are some challenges to how they do certain things. So you have to be careful about it. But here's a different view, idle. Again, we have a lot of idle stuff because the nature of our business is we're doing a lot of lab work. So, when we're testing things, we'll press a few things hard, and then we have things that are, just sitting around waiting for us when we're doing development work. But you can see it's just basically low-use boxes so that if we get in a bind, are there things that we can either just turn off and free up actual memory or CPU? But again, it gives us a quick look at things that we can work with and play with to turn down. Okay, so I'm going to take a breath here and just see if there's any questions or comments before we move on. Okay, so the other piece on this particular view that I really like to highlight, well, before I move on, actually, so one of my goals is to kind of get this overcapacity, oversized thing down to a more reasonable level. But again, you can see I've got 150 VMs powered on, and I've got 115 oversized. Here I've got 140 out of 150 oversized on memory. I mean, that's a lot of potential allocation to lower. And so that is a lot of potential upside to be able to free up for future capacity and future VMs for me, which, the return for me on that is hardware I don't have to buy till later. So the other views on this that are important to me is, breaking down, where is my capacity? What are the actual blades that I have? Again, here's my friend Blade 04. I want to see, what is going on Blade 04? What are the VMs that I have that I can break down? And this is really where our focus is going to be in the next coming weeks. Can I go through, these servers and say, okay, what can I do? Where is the overcapacity there that I can clean up and get this so that blade's in a little bit better position, so it's at least not at zero capacity. Okay. So the next big piece to this, and this is probably the other major component as far as the value, is being able to do some forecasting. This is kind of an interesting phenomenon that as soon as things are cleaned up, some of the shape of the curves will change a little bit. But it's aggregate forecasts of both of CPU, memory, and disk. Now, normally you wouldn't expect to see a curve sloping negatively. I mean, what that's telling you is inevitably I'll be using zero CPU. That's not normal. What that really is a reflection of the fact that we've been focusing on compressing our CPU, and so it reflects reality, but that's really a reflection of the fact that we've been going through all our VMs and shrinking in the amount of CPU usage we have. We've been doing it somewhat with memory, but it hasn't been with this instance. It was with the older instance that we're doing it with. So as soon as we're kind of done with that exercise, the slope of the curve should change. But the idea is this is actually, reflecting the reality of what we've been doing. But the cool thing here is that it's using the advanced analytics that are part of the Vertica backend, and it has a couple different data modeling technologies. There's logarithmic, there's linear. I can't remember what the other ones are, but any of you guys that are stats guys can see an R squared of 0.01 will know that it's not a very predictive model. 0.31, 0.49, those are better. The closer to 1 you are, the better the predictability of the model is. So this is clearly telling me it's not very strong, but at least it's giving me a sense of where we're going, what it looks like, and gives me a sense of date of when I'm going to probably be in trouble. So, from this perspective, I've probably got till the end of summer till I'm going to need to look at additional resources, which, again, I've got a lot of cleanup to do, so hopefully I can stretch that out closer to year end. So this is one view of it, and then I can actually go down to the actual hosts, and it shows me more like days to capacity, and I can see that's by CPU and by memory and by disk. So again, another view of where my hotspots may be and what kind of capacity, gives me a sense of what my timing is. Do I need to buy more disk or more CPU now, or do I have time? And again, let me stress, this is just basically out-of-the-box functionality. There's nothing I did or had to tweak to make this happen. Okay, so next step is, I've got some projects coming up. I want to be able to plan for that. I want to make sure that I can handle adding those, VMs, where I can place them. So I've got my production environment, my production VMware environment. This will give me some quick details on what I want to be able to do. I'm just going to make it simple and quick and say, hey, I'm just going to add one VM, a couple CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM. Let's add that action. Let's see if I'm going to be able to handle that. It says, yep, for the next 3 months, you can do that and you're fine. Okay, let's say if I'm going to add 10 of these, how am I going to do with that? Runs the scenario, and basically it'll come out and tell me that basically I'm good to go for about 51 days, and then I'm going to run out of memory and CPU. Will even show me the forecast of where I'm going to start to run out of it, and then basically what my capacity looks like, and starts to ramp up based on where my usage rates are. So this will give me the ability to really plan and know where my head, where my head's at as far as what I have on source, and be able to plan accordingly if I got new projects coming up. Okay. I think that is kind of the key pieces that I wanted to cover here. A couple other things I wanted to cover. I'm going to go back to the settings piece. Oops. So I want to talk a little bit, go through this really quickly. We talked about the configuration of data sources. That's really the heart of it. But this is where the bits are for the drill down that I showed you. So one of the new little pieces. So for this piece here, this is the agent. That's basically the old Glance Plus put on here. So this is actually for the vPV server. So the bits for that are right here. It's basically a package, and you can see it's for Windows. You can either do an MSI or zip, different flavors of Linux. There's also a OMI integration and a CSA integration. So the OMI integration basically looks something like this. So this is actually OMI 10 Ops Bridge. So there's the messages that kind of come through. So you saw the over-allocation or the under-allocation messages. The data store messages would come up. Basically, the alerts that come up would come up to OMI, just like any of the other type of messaging that would come up through there. And then you can also see the topology comes up through to the RTSM level as well. So you can see basically the same infrastructures there. And then you have the spider chart as well. Again, this is a OMI 10 Ops Bridge look, but that's basically a package, pretty straightforward to install for any of you folks that live in that world. And then on the CSA side of things, it's I didn't have the configuration done, but what that does is there's two pieces to it. One is it will optimize. So if you want to provision a server through CSA, it will kind of behind the scenes put this VM in the appropriate place that has the most resources. There are a set of rules that you can set, and kind of without telling you, it will put it in the right place, the most optimal place. So that's one piece of functionality that this will do for you. So it integrates with OneView, or not OneView, OO, and CSA to kind of run that calculation of saying, okay, this thing has the most capacity, put it here. Or there's other rules that you can insert on that that will help drive that. The other piece that it does is it actually provides end user reporting. So if you're using CSA to say to your app dev folks or your business line folks, it will help provide some higher level reporting to your end users on how their usage of their resources are going. So if you're doing chargeback or things like that, it will give them a sense of how their use of their resources, their IT resources are going for them, you know, how many VMs they have, things along those lines are. So that's pretty powerful. That's something that really in and of itself kind of deserves its own webinar, and that's part of why I was saying there will be a follow-up with some of those things. Something that I haven't had a chance to really leverage yet is the groupings. Again, I referred to that earlier in the presentation. So the idea of either grouping by applications or business units or location or environments, and then it would show up in the heat maps. You know, and again, there's a lot of different ways to leverage that. So again, very simple to admin. I mean, this is really all there is to it. If you want to do some of the advanced stuff, there's a few things you need to do at the command line, but this is pretty much it from an administrative standpoint. You can get to the command line, so this isn't one of those, you know, sealed and shut appliances, but they do have a VMware appliance tool if you want to use it, but you can get to root on it. So I know my engineers are kind of picky about that, so there is access to that. And then I wanted to quickly talk about the help. It's actually very, very good, pretty thorough, you know, kind of walks you through everything. Actually, one of the things I really liked was they've got some pretty good use cases on using the different tools. You know, walks you through this. I mean, this is just, you know, a wonderful app. So anyway, so that's the help. So what I wanted to do is just go back and kind of do a quick recap. You know, as a software partner of HP's, you know, part of what we do is we work with our customers to really help them manage their environments. And part of that is helping them with, you know, purchasing software that's going to help them and implementing that software. Well, this is one of those solutions that's actually not that expensive and it's very easy to deploy and to get to work for them. So as a consultant, this is one of those things that's, you know, there's not a lot of services to get this going, and it's really not that expensive to get going for the value that it delivers. And given the Vertica backend and given how easy it is to configure, you know, this is just one of those, you know, things that HP's done that's just, you know, a great place to start if you haven't done or had a lot of success in the monitoring realm, and if you're running multi-hypervisor technology, this is one of those things that will help you with that. If you're not, I think there's vendors that have other solutions, but I think this is one of those that are dramatically simpler to run. And then the analytics piece is just something that's growing faster and faster, and I think it's one of those things that it's very easy to show the business value, both as an administrator and as a manager. So I guess with, you know, 10 minutes to go, I wanted to kind of stop here and just see if there were some questions that I could answer and go from there. Anybody? Okay, I think with that, I think probably the next steps will be to kind of focus on some of the integrations in more detail, I think, and then some of the other, deeper dive in some of the forecasting and you know, just some of the advanced functionality around grouping and showing that. This was recorded, and I will certainly post that into the attendees. We'll send an email and let you know. It's on YouTube. We have other videos. We have actually one other video on this, as well as videos on the other things that Greenlight does posted on YouTube. So we'll forward that out to those of you who have attended. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
You bet. Bye-bye.